thought I'd show you today how to clean and change your check spring on a tension assembly. This is an A1 quilting machine. I'm just going to use an Allen wrench. We have a set screw that's set behind it, and you just take that and loosen a little bit, and then you can pull the tension assembly out. Now if it's not easy to pull out, it's just because there's a little maybe extra paint, so just use a little bit of muscle. So I usually leave, sometimes you can take all these parts off. I usually leave those on while I'm taking it out. So first, let's just go ahead and we're going to clean it out. So what I'll do is I'll take the first screw off. Zoom out a little bit so we have more to look at. And we're just going to set that down. So we take it off and set it down, face down. Then the next piece was this one. My spring just kind of sprung and pushed it off. That comes off and I just set it down. Then I'll take off the spring and set it down. You can see I'm setting everything down in order, so I don't have anything upside down. So everything's lined up, and I'll put it back on in the opposite order. Okay, and then if I want to clean, you can see here, you might see I have some gunk down in here. So I'm going to use a screwdriver to loosen the screw at the bottom of the tension assembly. Now if you are using, like, you can use a smaller screwdriver. Let's see if I turn off my lights, you can see better. So if you use a smaller screwdriver, you can see that there's a lot of movement in there, and it can start to chew up that screw. So it's better to use, now this one might be a little wide, but you want to use a screwdriver that'll fit in there, and then it'll keep it nice and protected. So I'm just gonna loosen that a little bit. Now on my older tension assembly, you can see that my spring just comes out really easy. So I thought I'd quickly show you guys on a newer assembly. We'll do the same thing. Just loosen this a little bit. And now that comes out, but you can see here, it's a brand new assembly, so I don't need to clean it. You can see here that that's just kind of stuck in there. So if I wanted to switch this out with a new one, if it was broken, I just grab that spring out from the inside, and it's kind of like a slinky. So if you get the whole spring out, then you can kind of just take the spring end and kind of weave it out of there. So to put it back in, I'm going to hook it in that little slot, squish my spring, push the bottom of it down into the tension assembly, and then I can take my outer portion of the assembly and put it in side, and I'm going to rotate it until, and I'll show you that on the other one. So I'm going to rotate it until I get a good spring and then tighten. But let's first add a little piece of, you can either use some just paper towel, or you can get a little bit of oil on your paper towel, but you can see that there's been a little bit of buildup there. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean everything. You can, over time, either replace the whole assembly. You can replace just this screw. So these are the ones that are important, that you want them to face each other. So, and inspect them, make sure that they're nice and smooth, that you don't see any area that thread has cut into that. And then we're going to do this one. I have seen some more where mine has a little bit right here. Let's see if we can get that on camera. A little bit, but not enough to worry about. I'm going to just keep the same assembly. Okay, now we can put things back together. So we're going to take our spring. Oh, we didn't clean off the spring, did we? This is probably the dirtiest part. Okay. All right, so we're just going to place that inside the base. And then we're going to take the post, place inside, and you're going to rotate it. And what you want is, I'll show you, you want this little straight piece there to connect with. You can see that inside that spring, there's part of it that just faces up. So that is what's going to fit inside that little line. It's going to line up there and sit and seat itself right on top of that. So put that in there, put this in, rotate it until it seats on it. There it goes. Do you see how it just kind of fit down in there? Now this is where we want to set the spring, so that what it's actually doing is it needs to pull up that thread out of your hook assembly. So if I rotate the outer bit, or the inner piece, you can see that it springs back. Now if you have too much spring, it's going to break pretty quick. It'll put too much undue stress on it. If you don't have enough, it's not really going to do much. So I just take it up to the top of there, rotate a little bit more, and you can feel that there's tension there, that it's going to pull up the thread, but there's not so much tension that it'll break and it won't work because it's too strong for the thread to move it. Then we can go ahead and tighten that little screw again. Now if you're just replacing this, you don't need to take all of this off. It can stay on it. So then we're going to put it back together. So this one goes first. Then this one. So you can tell I'm just picking them up, putting them right back on. That one actually got upside down. So I know that the little teeth on it need to face the teeth that are on this one. And then you want to make sure that you don't get cross thread because it is a split screw. If this is really easy to turn, like it's really super easy, you can split that screw in between with a screwdriver. Just stick a screwdriver in it and pry it apart a little bit. And then, come on, focus. And then when you do that, then this will have a little bit more tension to it so that it won't change as easily. The vibration won't cause your tension to change because this rotates. Okay, then when you're putting it back into the machine, you want the bottom of the spring, like this little circle part right here, the circle, half circle, right there we go. You want that to be at 11 o'clock if you're looking at a normal old-timer's clock. And so it'll be about right there. So then I'm going to make sure, if I push it in all the way, you can see that that spring's resting on the wall of the side of my machine. So I want to pull it away, give it some space between there, and then I can take my wrench and tighten it back up. This one's kind of chunky. I have to keep rotating it little bit by little bit. Okay, now I can feel the tensions happening. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we can take our thread and go through the discs, catch our check spring, and then you can see that when I pull on that thread that the check spring is jumping, and it's at 11 o'clock. You can see that it's at 11 o'clock, and then you would want to put a practice piece on the edge of your quilt so that you can test your tension, because we've just changed everything. So, but it's nice to be able to change out your tension assembly or change your check spring or just clean everything off, because lint and oil can change how your tension is on your quilt. So, hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe.